depths of Chokeslam Radio, where expert insider WWE knowledge and secrets are unleashed with thunderous power.
Rest in peace.
Coming to you live straight from the heart of Death Valley, here are your mysterious hosts, DRW15 and DJ Big Unknown.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a highly anticipated episode of Chokeslam Radio. As always, I'm Big Unknown.
And I'm DRW15. And yeah, as Carson said, big weekend, big week in the WWE. A lot of stuff to talk about. King of the Ring, all of that. So let's get right into it.
We just had a crazy Monday Night Raw last night, coming off of a great Memorial Day weekend with King of the Ring. I hope everyone had a great time this weekend with that 3-day weekend. I hope you had a great time, celebrating our country and remembering those who fought for us as we watched a different type of fight in the ring. Yeah,
definitely. It was a good weekend to have off, and an even better weekend for the WWE. So it just made for a great time. 3 events in 4 days. Couldn't have asked for much more from Triple H and the crew. So they definitely stepped it up. It was an exciting weekend.
I'll admit, we have been a little critical of Triple H in the past, but I'll give it to him. He did a great job putting on these last couple events. We had a great Friday Night SmackDown going into one of the best King and Queen of the Ring tournament finales I've seen. But there are still some questionable things that happened, especially with the Gunther versus Viper Randy Orton match. A lot of people are saying Randy's shoulders weren't down. And I looked at the replay and, it looked to me like his left shoulder was not down. So I don't know what happened there with the referee. But I want to know your thoughts on this, DRW15.
Yeah, well, that's part of wrestling. The Gunther did a good job of pinning him in a way where the referee couldn't see his shoulders. And, maybe Randy's shoulder was up, but at the end of the day, the ref saw what he saw, and it was a 3 count, and Randy didn't kick out. He knew he was getting pinned. And a legend like that knows if you really want to kick out before the 3 count, you gotta get that shoulder up in the air, in the way that the ref can see. The ref didn't see it, and that's a 3 count. So I don't think we can necessarily complain that Randy's shoulder was up. The thing I was more upset about was that I don't think Randy was 100% in that match. Gunther did win fair and square because, you can't always be 100% going into a match, and Gunther took advantage of Randy's injuries. But, I would have liked to see Randy go into that match feeling good because, Randy had just fought on Friday the night before. Gunther had almost a whole week to recover. So it's just the disadvantage of being on Friday Night SmackDown and fighting in back-to-back days, and he didn't have the time to recover. So that's tough.
Yeah, I did think that was a little unfair because Randy Orton had to just face Tama Tonga literally the night before, where Gunther had almost the whole week to rest. And that just seemed like SmackDown was at like a disadvantage from the start. I think maybe it would have made more sense for the final round on the SmackDown side to be a week earlier. So then there's like less of a difference in like recovery time. Still there is a big difference, but like to have only like 24 hours of recovery going into a match that big, that doesn't really seem that fair to me.
Yeah, no, definitely not. 5 days versus 6 days versus 1 day is very significant, especially when you're an older wrestler. Randy's been in the game for years. He's definitely not in his prime. I know he drinks prime, so maybe that's why they thought he would be able to recover so fast. And he almost did. He pulled off some RKOs, almost pulled it off, but the knee was just not holding up for him in a way that he would have liked.
Yeah.
Maybe if he
I
had a
mean,
drink
to
of
me,
Prime during that match, that could have been the difference.
yeah, that was one thing I noticed was the Prime hydration station that's usually on SmackDown and Raw, and we saw it at WrestleMania too. It wasn't there in Saudi Arabia for some reason, so maybe Prime is banned in that country. I don't know. I don't really know how that works, but we did see Logan Paul had a Prime, but he is. Some would say that he's Mr. Prime, so it makes sense. There's a Prime with him everywhere he goes, but I don't know why there wouldn't be the hydration station, because at this point the superstars are probably used to that being there, and then it might throw someone off guard, like especially someone who drinks Prime like Randy Orton. He's going into that match between that Prime station to be there, and it's gone when he walks in, and that might catch someone off guard. At least it would catch me off guard.
Yeah, definitely. If you've spent the whole King of the Ring tournament, using Prime to your advantage, and then you get to the finals, after putting in all that work and it's not there, it's difficult, and it's going to affect how you perform in the ring. And as you mentioned, Logan had to have his personal Prime guy on the side giving him a Prime, and he almost beat Cody because he had that Prime. So that just shows how much of an advantage having that hydration station and having that Prime is in the match.
Exactly. I've noticed too that Gatorade has been really, really worried recently. Like, I've noticed, I'm a big fan of going to 7-Eleven. I go there quite often, but 7-Eleven is having all these like new Gatorade flavors, new Gatorade discounts. You can buy 3 like large Gatorades right now for $5. I think Gatorade is realizing that all these people are switching to Prime, Randy Orton switching to Prime, like, whether you like Prime or not, at the end of the day, none of these WWE stars are drinking Gatorade. I can understand someone choosing to drink water, but none of these guys are drinking Gatorade, so it makes sense why Gatorade's been pretty worried recently, and it shows. So this could be the downfall of Gatorade.
Yeah, it is a bit of out with the old, in with the new, and I think Gatorade is seeing that, and they're hoping that releasing these new flavors or giving these deals at 7-Eleven will make a difference. But at the end of the day, Prime's just doing it better right now. Logan had that 6 shot of him jumping onto Cody after he drank the Prime. Gatorade's not putting up anything like that, and there are all these new athletes signing with Prime. So I could see how Gatorade is worried, and their only solution right now is to give 3 for $5 deals at 7-Eleven. That's not. I don't think at the end of the day that's going to make the difference. So Gatorade's got to figure something out. But I do see why the CEO of Gatorade would be worried about Logan Paul and Prime.
Exactly. And look, I don't even know who the CEO of Gatorade is, but I'm guessing whoever it is, they're not gonna beat Logan Paul in a fight, that's for sure. Or KSI, they're both fighters.
Yeah. No, that's the problem, is that they know that they can't beat the CEO of Prime in the ring, so they're going for other tactics. But at the end of the day, if you're trying to prove that you've got the best energy drink, the best electrolytes in the business, you got to be able to compete and get a W in the ring. And right now, Prime's proven that they can do that, and Gatorade isn't. So it's an uphill battle for Gatorade right now to figure this out.
Yeah. There was just a new Prime flavor announced today. But there has been another flavor that was announced a while back that's been highly anticipated, and that's the Cody Rhodes flavor. So do you think this flavor is going to actually end up coming out? Because if I'm Logan, I'm pissed at Cody Rhodes right now. And honestly, I could see him even canceling his flavor coming out.
Yeah. It's an interesting position that Cody puts him in, because it was the match was kind of the power of Cody versus the power of Prime almost. And, Cody could have easily pulled out his own prime. They've made the deal before. Logan presented him with the Cody Rhodes flavor, and Cody hasn't done anything to promote that. It looks like he's been too focused on, being in the ring and being the WWE champion, which is fine. I get that, but I think he should at least acknowledge that Prime helped him get there. And without Prime and that new Prime flavor, I don't think he would be the WWE champion. So I think he's taking Logan a little bit for granted right now, and I could see why Logan's pretty upset by that. So I wouldn't be surprised if that bottle doesn't see its way to the shelves anytime soon.
We have a question from it was just up there. We have a question from one of our viewers. What's your favorite thing to get from 7-Eleven? I usually get a Prime or Prime Energy, or sometimes if I'm looking for a little bit extra, I'll get a C4, especially the Power Bomb berry flavor, because like that's what the superstars drink. I know Otis is a big fan of C4 Energy, and it shows him doing the worm out there in the ring. That's not something that you're going to be able to do just drinking water.
No. Yeah. I mean, anyone can drink water, but not everyone can go out in the ring and do the worm like that. So you're going to need a little bit of something extra if you want to pull off a move like that in the ring in front of thousands of fans. And, Otis has that in him, but I think Chad Gable is maybe the water in this situation that's holding him back, preventing him from his full potential.
I think Chad Gable might have had a little too much C4, because he's out there doing. He's honestly, something is going on with him. He either hasn't drank enough C4 or he's drinking too much, and he's out there, just angry at everyone for no reason. And it's embarrassing for himself, but especially our country. As we've said this in the past, Chad Gable represents us as a nation. He's one of our Olympic athletes. So him going out there, making a fool of himself, this is not a good look on our country. Especially with like elections coming up. I'm worried that maybe Chad Gable might even have an impact on the upcoming elections. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. It's not good coming from Chad Gable because, as we mentioned, he could have chosen to be an Olympic gold medalist if he wanted to go to the Olympics, but he chose to shoot for something more and go to the WWE instead. And, that's obviously, I think, the right move. But the way he's been acting lately, I don't know if we want him in the WWE because, as you said, he represents our nation and all that we stand for. And, just the way that he's treating his friends and treating his team. That's not the way that a true American acts. And yeah, I do agree that his actions extend beyond the WWE because it reflects our nation, it reflects our leaders, it reflects everyone. So if he keeps acting like this our whole country is going to suffer.
Yeah, but I mean, I could see a country like Russia, or I don't want to get into politics here, but you know what? Let's just drop it. I don't even want to go there because Chad Gable's already done enough. You know what? I think as little as possible that we talk about him is probably good, but I've been very critical of Sami Zayn recently, and I'm gonna take back all those statements now after how he responded, and he was sort of like what he did on yesterday on Memorial Day, a day that we Memorial Day is a day that we take to honor our heroes. And Sami Zayn, he did something heroic, and I mean he wasn't like like fighting for our country or anything, but I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Never mind. Uh,
Well, no,
but
I think
I'm just trying to say, like, it was a heroic thing to do, and it got me. It got me, especially on the day it was Memorial Day. It got me feeling like, uh, better about uh, our country.
yeah, no, his actions definitely fired me up. It was very American of him, to stand up
Mhm.
for these guys who couldn't stand up for themselves against this big bad man. I don't know if I can say big. Chad Gable's not
Mhm.
exactly the largest man, but this guy with all the power who Otis and the rest of Alpha Academy don't think that they can stand up to. Sami Zayn, got in the ring and showed them that they can, that there is an option to say no to Chad Gable and to stand up to him. And Otis, I could tell he's almost there. He was thinking about stopping Chad Gable. He's just gotta get over that hump and understand
Yeah.
that he's going to be okay without Chad Gable. So I think what Sami Zayn did was heroic. It was American. America in the past has stepped up for smaller countries who don't think that they can fend for themselves. And I think that's the situation that Otis is in right now. So I hope in the coming weeks he's finally able to break off, because we do want to see more of the Otis worm, and Chad Gable's really just
Mhm.
holding it back from his full potential.
Yeah, I think Chad Gable, he needs to cut down on the C4. Probably, I feel like Chad Gable probably is spending a little bit too much time on social media as well. Not like Gunther or some of these other guys, but I feel like maybe Chad Gable has been watching a little bit too much Andrew Tate
Mm.
or something like that. I feel like, because he's not always been like this. I think something is going on outside of the ring. Like, obviously things aren't going his way in the ring as well, but I think that there's, he needs to make some serious changes here.
Yeah, I think one of the problems could be when you look up alpha, the two things that come up are Alpha Academy and Andrew Tate talking about alpha males. And I think Chad Gable easily could have been distracted or influenced by that. So I think Andrew Tate is definitely negatively influencing the WWE and Chad Gable. And Chad Gable is trying to become an alpha male by listening to Andrew Tate. And we've seen what's happened to him. And I think that's a reflection of how it's affected America, because as we said, Chad Gable is a direct reflection of the American people.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't want to, make this a negative show and talk about Chad Gable the whole time. Like, there were a lot of, great things that happened. You know, we saw Logan Paul win. No, we didn't see Logan. We saw Cody Rhodes win again. A lot of us are Cody fans. Um, Me, not so much, but I am a little bit. I respect him for what he's done, taking down the bloodline when no one else could. But we also saw Nia Jax become the new queen of the ring. And I honestly predicted that this would happen. I said last week on the show that Nia Jax would beat Bianca Belair by sitting on her, and that happened. And then I didn't put out a public statement about this, but I also predicted that Nia Jax would sit on Lyra Valkyria as well, and that happened again. So, also, I want to give a shout out to the WWE announcer Corey Graves for referencing one of my tweets about Lyra Valkyria. I put out a tweet just putting that question out there. Why does this girl think she's a bird? And Corey Graves went ahead and asked that question on the show. So, we want to thank you for listening to our show, and hopefully we can have you on the show at some point soon.
Yeah. To your point and to that prediction, I don't know why Lyra Valkyria decided it would be a good idea to come out as a bird when you're going against someone like Nia Jax, because as we saw, Nia Jax just sat on the bird and killed her. You know, that
Mhm.
it wasn't really a fair match coming in, but I don't think the bird entrance really helped with any intimidation. And we were hoping for a good finale, and Lyra Valkyria put up, a decent fight given the circumstances. But as Big Unknown over here said, I think we predicted, if Nia Jax can beat Bianca Belair, she's gonna have no problem sitting on Lyra Valkyria, and that's exactly what happened. I will
Yeah.
say respect to Lyra Valkyria for coming out on Monday night and beating Damage Control. We've expressed that Damage Control is not exactly the strongest faction in the WWE, and we have our opinions about them. But coming out 2 days after getting sat on and winning a match was pretty impressive. So I'll give it to her. She's got some heart.
Yeah. I would almost compare Lyra Valkyria to Brock Purdy because she was like this new person picked low in the draft. Nobody really thought that she would step up, and she did, and she made it all the way to basically like the equivalent of the Super Bowl and lost there. So, I mean, I think it's, I think a lot of people could compare, what she's done to Brock Purdy. She's just got to get rid of the bird thing because it's just kind of strange. But once she does that, I think she could be, considered maybe the new GOAT.
Yeah, she's definitely got the heart and the commitment. As I said, she, made it all the way to the end, further than any other woman. Lost in the finale like Brock Purdy did, but is right out there the next show putting on a good match and winning against Damage Control. So she's in it to win it, just like Brock. The underdog story that we love to see, and I think we're both excited to see what happens with her. Hopefully she does grow out of the bird thing because I think there are more intimidating animals. To be fair, there are some birds that are scary. Ravens in particular do scare some people, or their intelligence maybe pose some threat to people. But all in all, I wouldn't stick with the bird thing too long, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I mean, if someone compares you to an animal in sports, usually you want them to call you a goat, not a bird. No one wants to be called a bird.
No.
Anyways, Chokeslam Radio is a place where, you get all the insights on what's going on right now in WWE, but you can also learn about what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. As we saw again, we previously predicted that Jey Uso would beat Ilya Dragunov, and then shortly after, we said that Gunther would win King of the Ring, and like we predicted about 2 weeks before, that's what happened. So if you want to learn more about what's going to happen in the future, we encourage you to listen to our show. We'll give you a warning if you don't want to be spoiled, but we are insiders in the WWE, and we do know a lot of the stuff before it happens. And I mean, we can't give away too much stuff because a lot of it is changing as it goes. As Yoda says in Star Wars, the future is always in motion. But there's a couple things like Ilya Dragunov losing. Like, we knew that would happen. We knew Gunther would win. So if you want to hear more about any that's happening in the future, we recommend that you tune into our show.
Yeah, no, definitely. As Big Unknown mentioned, we've been, breaking news for a lot of these fights before it happened. And in the beginning, we were getting some hate on our social media because we were releasing what was going to happen in the matches, and people weren't happy to hear that Ilya Dragunov was going to lose and stuff like that. But, we don't care about people's feelings or the fanboys of different wrestlers. We care about what's happening in the WWE and who's performing well and who's winning matches. And that's what we're going to continue to focus on this show. So if you want to get all butthurt in the comments because we say that your favorite wrestler is going to lose, you know, that sucks for you and we're sorry for you, but we're not going to change our show because you're sad at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think? You know, we predicted that Gunther is going to win, but Triple H came out with a video a couple hours after King of the Ring saying, "Hey, we saw that his shoulders was not down, and we're going to give Randy Orton another chance." I'm not sure if it's for the King of the Ring crown or what, but how do you think that's going to work? Because, I mean, Randy Orton is pretty injured right now. And if we're going, like, the whole point of King of the Ring was whoever wins gets a match at SummerSlam. So, like, what are the odds that Randy Orton is even going to be fully recovered by SummerSlam? Like, I don't really see how this is going to end up being very fair.
Yeah, it's an interesting move by Triple H because, as I mentioned, there's been a lot of matches that end in ways that we see aren't necessarily fair. So to say that Randy's shoulders weren't down and to give him another chance, I understand it from Triple H, and of course I'm excited to see Randy versus Gunther again. But I do agree that there's a lot to think about when scheduling that new match. Obviously, Randy, if it's in Randy's hands, he's going to want to schedule it when he is fully recovered. But I know Gunther's got his sights on some other fighters right now. Drew McIntyre's making his return, Damian Priest, and now Big Braun Strowman. They're all in the mix. Those are all big heavyweights that I think Gunther's looking forward to fighting soon. And I would like to see those fights. So it's an interesting situation. And I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll need to hear more from Triple H about what Randy is allowed to do with this match, because I would like to see a Gunther versus one of those other big names at SummerSlam. And if Randy wants to fight Gunther again at SummerSlam, sure, I guess. But he got his match, and as we said, maybe he wasn't fully recovered, but that's how it is sometimes in the WWE.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One thing that was really missing from King of the Ring, I think, is the bloodline. I feel like it didn't feel as important as other pay-per-views because, the bloodline wasn't there. That's who people really care about. But what do you think is next for the bloodline? They're kind of in like this weird area where, Solo Sikoa is trying to do his own thing. He's trying to take the bloodline back and, make it something new. But at the same time, like ever since he's done this, the bloodline's not as relevant as it used to be. Like they didn't have a single match in this pay-per-view. So people don't really, like, you could argue that they're a more serious and focused bloodline now, but people don't really care about the bloodline anymore.
Yeah. In our show last week, I think this is one of the things we have maybe not gotten wrong, but we were saying that we thought that it was going to be very difficult for Randy to beat Tama Tonga because of the presence of the bloodline and because the bloodline was playing chess, not checkers. But as we saw, Randy was able to take all of them down. He won, and then Kevin Owens did come out afterwards to help him out. But Randy's able to take down the bloodline on his own, And I know in the old days, Roman Reigns wouldn't have let that happen. There's no way that the bloodline gets eliminated before the finals and doesn't even end up being in the pay-per-view. Randy would never Roman would never let that happen. So I think the members of the bloodline might start to question Solo's leadership a little bit. And, there are these new members, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, who, I don't know if we've seen their full potential yet because, they haven't had a chance to really show it in any pay-per-view events because the bloodline is a little bit scattered right now and they're still trying to figure it out. So I don't know if they need to switch up leadership. I don't know if they're waiting for The Rock or Roman to come back, but they're in a little bit of a weird spot right now.
Yeah. What do you think about Tonga Loa not even being let into the country? Like, I know Saudi Arabia is probably pretty strict about who they let in, especially if they have like a sketchy past like Tongaloa, but they let Chad Gable in, especially after what he just did in Canada. I'm surprised that they would let someone like Chad Gable in, but not Tongaloa. So that just tells me whatever that guy did must have been pretty bad.
Yeah, it's some red flags for sure, but it also, that's a guy you don't want to mess around with in the ring if countries aren't letting him in to even be at an event. That's a bad MRF right there for whatever he did. If entire countries are saying no, like this guy can't even come in, and they're letting people like Chad Gable in. So
yeah,
I think it's obviously concerning, because if we do have any more live events abroad, he's not going to be allowed into those countries. But for these events in the U.S., I think these fighters might be a little bit worried about him because of this, because he's known as a international threat.
Yeah, and that's another thing that makes me think that Solo Sikoa isn't actually talking to Roman Reigns, because something the wise man said is, this is the reason why we didn't let these guys into the bloodline in the first place, because of stuff like this. So why is it now that Roman Reigns would just like change his mind, especially when the bloodline is trying to make a comeback? It doesn't make sense.
No, definitely not. And Roman was all about, discipline and making sure the bloodline was strong and, tight knit. And it's not looking like that right now. And, Solo's really letting Roman down a little bit, I think. And it's a bit disrespectful if he didn't talk to Roman to say all these things and to let these other members into the bloodline while Roman's away and recovering. So I think for now, the bloodline, it's not looking great until Roman comes back. And I don't even know what's going on with Jimmy Uso right now. He's nowhere to be seen. So a lot of question marks right now for the bloodline.
Yeah. Anyways, another group that I felt like was missing from this pay-per-view was the Judgment Day. But we did get a little bit of Judgment Day action during the Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch fight, which was unexpected to say the least.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm still a little bit confused about what Dom was doing. I know you're a big Dom fan, so I would love to hear your insight on it. But he threw a chair into the ring. It seemed like not to help Liv Morgan, but it ended up helping her out. And the other members of the bloodline, other members of Judgment Day, obviously weren't happy by it. But the move on Saturday was very confusing, to say the least, that he was even there to begin with. So I want to know, as a someone who supports Dom, what you think his intentions were.
Well, I think it's pretty clear what his intentions were. He was trying to have Mommy's back. Liv Morgan is the person who took out his girlfriend, Rhea Ripley, and their bond is very tight, probably tighter than anyone in the whole WWE. So he's going to do anything to get his revenge on Liv Morgan. But the only thing that makes me a little confused here is I'm pretty sure Dominic hates Becky Lynch. Like, it was only a couple weeks ago that Becky Lynch punched him in the face, like, really hard, and pretty much knocked him out. So it's a little weird. Like, even if he doesn't like Liv Morgan, like, I feel like he also wants his revenge on Becky Lynch, because, like, I feel like that's just as bad as Liv Morgan having the championship. Like, I don't know why he would be trying to interfere there. So that's the only thing that makes me a little confused. But I don't know. Maybe he got punched so hard he doesn't remember it. I don't know. But I'm sure he's seen it on TV. I'm sure all his buddies make fun of him for it. But actually, no, I don't think the Judgment Day would be like that. But anyways, like, something is going on with Liv Morgan, though, because we've seen her in the background of a lot of shots talking to Dom or like leaving a room like with him. So I don't know what's going on there. I mean, but she's been with other members of the Judgment Day too. We saw her get out of a car with Finn Balor just last night. She was talking to JD McDonough. So I don't know what's going on with Liv Morgan. I think she's up to something. I mean, I think she's trying to get revenge on Rhea Ripley in every way possible. She wants to do more than just take her title. She probably wants to ruin all of the Judgment Day. And I think that's why we saw last night when she made out with Dirty Dom. That was obviously like she knew Rhea Ripley was watching. And I think USA Network was like also knew what she was doing. So that's why they cut the feed off because, I think it's better for everyone if mommy isn't pissed off because you don't want to piss off mommy because that's just going to make it harder for everyone. But, it ended up leaking online, the video. I think other networks that play it in other countries or something like didn't cut it off in time or something. So that video is all over the internet now. And, it's going to be bad for not just Judgment Day, but everyone in the WWE is going to have to face mommy's wrath now.
Yeah. It definitely could have been the hacker. As we know, the WWE doesn't have the tightest of security. So, when something like that happens, obviously it's going to get leaked. But yes, I absolutely agree that whenever Rhea Ripley comes back, I'm scared for Liv Morgan, obviously, terrified for her, but really scared for the whole WWE universe because it's hard enough to have to relinquish your WWE women's title and give up some time when the WWE security doesn't protect you as they should. And now Liv Morgan is doing all these things on television to just make fun of Rhea Ripley and to sort of making all these moves to steal everything that Rhea Ripley had built up. So whenever she does come back, she's going to come back with a vengeance. And as we talked about in, I think, our first episode, there's not a woman in the WWE right now that can go toe-to-toe with Rhea Ripley. And now that she's going to be angry, it's going to be even scarier. So, Liv Morgan can have her fun for now and mess around. But I think she knows once Rhea comes back, it's a different ball game. And I think we're pretty worried for her and what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Liv Morgan is going to get what she deserves. Like, I think what she did to mommy is obviously pretty bad, but I think that all of the security staff are also going to be, under fire from mommy because they're the ones who let Liv Morgan hurt her with no repercussion. I think even all the Judgment Day are going to be, in trouble for allowing any of this to happen, especially Damian Priest because, he took over this role as leader. I think Carlito's going to be in trouble, because he's trying to get involved. That might be distracting Damian Priest. I think even people who aren't even really involved with the Judgment Day, like, I think R-Truth could be attacked as well because, what he was doing to the Judgment Day while she was still there. I think she's just going to be going after anyone she can, and it's going to be bad.
Yeah, now they're beefing with LWO too, Rey Mysterio and company. Mm-hmm. So like Carlito's bringing that drama in. So there's a lot of enemies right now for Judgment Day, which is fine. Like, for now, Judgment Day isn't as strong as we've talked about. Damian Priest isn't quite the leader that Rhea Ripley was, but yeah, I agree that once she comes back, everyone that's been poking fun at Judgment Day is gonna face an angry Rhea Ripley, and it's not going to be pretty for them.
Mm-hmm.
To comment further on the security problems in the WWE, we've seen Braun Breaker just absolutely wreaking havoc. I don't know what's going on there because, they said last night in Raw that he was at home and not allowed to come to the show because of what he did on Saturday. And then he shows up in the middle of a great match between Ricochet in Ilya Dragunov and spears both of them and just causes even more havoc. And, you know, we've talked about it again, that the security team in the WWE needs to step it up because stuff like this can't happen. Fighters are getting injured. I don't know what's going on with Cale Dixon, that poor guy that they threw in the ring with Braun Breaker, but you know, Ilya Dragunov.
It sounded bad.
Yeah. Ilya Dragunov and Ricochet are two up and coming fighters that they can't, you know, risk injuries because this guy Braun Breaker is just running around like a madman.
I know. And I think, you know, that further kind of shows how Ilya Dragunov is so inexperienced, because when he got up to face Braun Breaker, he started hitting him with like these silly little slaps in the chest. Like, that might work if you're Gunther, but dude, you don't have that kind of size, especially against a dude like Braun Breaker. That's, you know, that's a recipe to get broken right there. And that's exactly what happened. Broke him right in half.
Yep.
And,
we said last week, don't poke the bear. And those were just pokes in the chest, just angering Braun Breaker. We saw what happened. So I think that's the problem with Ilya Dragunov right now. People want to see him versus Gunther, but if he's going to come out with these chops, he's got to hit the weight room first, because I don't even think Braun Breaker felt it when he was hitting those moves on him. So
I think he's too busy eating the rope instead of eating, you know, some protein powder, some chicken and rice. He's too busy eating the rope. I don't know what's going on with that dude.
Yeah, he's too focused on eating other things, but you know, get in the weight room, get in the dining hall. You got to dominate there before you can dominate in the ring. So
yeah, I saw some videos of him working out. He was doing like weird little, like it looked really hard. He was doing like one arm push-ups or something, but it was like, bro, have you heard of a bench press? Like, you don't have to be like all special. Like, yeah, that looks really hard, but at the end of the day, like, that's not going to get you yoked, you know. That's not going to prepare you to face Gunther, or to face Braun Breaker or Braun Strowman even, or Roman Reigns. Like, doing a one arm push up, you know, you got to be benching like 500 if you want to go against these dudes.
Yeah, push-ups aren't going to cut it, especially when you don't got the meat on you. Like, you know, Ilya Dragunov's a little bit skinnier, so a push-up isn't going to do the same for him as it is for a guy like Gunther, or a guy like Braun,
Otis.
Or Otis. Yeah, Otis push-up is not the same as an Ilya Dragunov push-up. So, you know, hit the creatine, hit the protein, hit the prime, and then we'll talk.
Exactly. But what do you think Adam Pearce has got to do next about this Braun Breaker guy? Because, you know, what else can you do besides suspend him and keep him home? Because he already did that. It didn't work. So what do you do next at this point?
Clearly it didn't work. I don't know. It wasn't a good look when they wanted to do an interview with Adam Pearce last night, and he decided to drink on the job instead. You know, you gotta step it up when stuff like this is happening, and take ownership of it. Because he said early in the night, he said Braun Breaker's not going to be here. He's suspended. He's at home. And then who shows up? Braun Breaker. So obviously, whatever tactics he's using right now aren't working. The fighters aren't listening to him, and they won't respect him if stuff like this keeps happening. So I don't know if he needs to put Braun Breaker in a match where he can actually fight someone who's worth his time, or if he just needs to, you know, really lock him up, because there's no, we're just going to keep him at home. Obviously that doesn't work.
I think at this point, if I'm Adam Pearce, I don't know if you saw a couple months ago, a WWE legend appeared on NXT back when Braun Breaker was there, and gave him a chokeslam, and that was the Undertaker. So, you know, Undertaker has proven in the past that he can stop Braun Breaker, and he's the only person I've seen who can do it. So at this point, if I'm Adam Pearce, I don't know anyone who has contact with the Undertaker at this point, but I know Teddy Long, they have a really long history together, and he was just present on the draft. So maybe if I was Adam Pearce, I would get in contact with Teddy Long and ask like, hey, do you know where the Undertaker is? I need him. And then I would challenge Braun. I would have Teddy Long show up and put him in a one-on-one match against the Undertaker.
Yeah, that's Undertaker versus Braun Breaker would be one way to put him in his place for sure. He's running around attacking all these minor league fighters, but when you put him up against a WrestleMania legend like the Undertaker, that's a different battle, and you can't just run around like a madman in a match like that, or you're gonna get beat down pretty quick. So if we really want to put Braun Breaker in his place, the Undertaker's the man to do it.
Exactly. Yeah, speaking of the Undertaker, somebody who is on the run from Undertaker still, and we've talked about this in the past, is The Rock. And we have an update on one of his latest movies. There's a photo that they released of the movie, and he looks almost like a completely different person. Like, have you seen this photo I'm talking about?
Yeah, I have seen that photo. And
it's pretty clear that he's trying to disguise himself so the Undertaker can't find him.
Yeah, I think we were pretty spot on with this one. As we said, if you got someone like the Undertaker after you, you're not going to be just walking around in society. The Rock is a pretty noticeable person. So if the Undertaker's hunting you down and you're scared for your life, I think the best move is to change your whole appearance. And the Rock did exactly that. So I can't say I blame him, obviously, with the Undertaker after him like that to completely look like a whole new person. But it is a little bit sad because, some people think of The Rock as one of the wrestling greats, and, one chokeslam from the Undertaker. And now all of a sudden he's too scared to even show his face out in society.
And that just shows you the power of the chokeslam.
Yeah. Yeah. Even a legend, a former legend like The Rock is now too scared to even be The Rock anymore. So that's tough for him.
Well, another WWE legend who I wanted to provide an update on is Edge. He's been in a tough spot recently. He is wrestling on a new company that, I think he's realizing might not have been the best decision. And they also put on a pay-per-view last weekend, and I didn't watch it, but I saw clips of it online, and I saw Edge do a move off of the top of the cage, and he it's almost like in midair he kind of decided not to do it, but he was already in midair, so he kind of just like landed on his feet, and he finished the match and everything, but we got an update from him this morning and he broke his leg. So it's pretty rough being, in your 50s and breaking your leg like that. I don't know if he's going to ever come back from this injury. I hope he does, but it shows how you can't always just do the craziest moves and expect to be fine.
No, and that's the problem with leaving the WWE, is that now he's expected to carry these other companies, and he's expected to jump off the cage and do stuff like this. And as you say, when you're getting old like that, you can't just be throwing yourself off of the cage. And now he's got a broken leg, and it's going to take a long time for him to recover from that. And yeah, that's a good point, that these other companies don't have Prime as a sponsorship. So you're doing all of this with no electrolyte benefits. It's just going to be that much tougher to even make it through a match at that age. But to jump off a cage without any Prime in your system, I don't know how you don't expect to break a bone, honestly.
Yeah, it's almost like, we were giving Lyra Valkyria a bunch of crap for thinking she's a bird, but I think Edge actually thinks he's a bird jumping from that height. I don't think that was the smartest decision.
No, and I know way back in the day he had his spear of Jeff Hardy on off of the ladder, and maybe he's trying to relive that, but it's just not the same now, and you almost feel bad for the guy a little bit. Everything
Mhm.
goes downhill once you leave the WWE. So obviously we wish Edge well. He's a former legend in the WWE, but as we said, this is kind of what happens when you go to the minor leagues, if you will.
Yeah. Another thing about, this minor league, I know we give WWE a lot of crap for not having good security, but I saw at this last event that they had some dude brought in a flamethrower and was lighting people on fire with a flamethrower. Like, how do you like that? That's a whole nother level of bad. I know, like Braun Breaker, he's almost like as deadly as a flamethrower, but to let somebody with a weapon that big in and just light people on fire, like how does that even happen? Like somebody's got to at least be at the door to say like, hey, don't bring that in.
I know.
So
How, I don't understand how you can bring an entire flamethrower in there and no one bats an eye, and everyone's like, all right, I guess he's gonna bring a flamethrower in here. Like, it's one thing to go after someone with a steel chair or a stick or a table or something like that. Like, there's a time and place for that, but I don't think that there's a time and place for a flamethrower in the ring, and that is definitely the kill. And I guess the WWE does have the best security, even if they're not great. And these other companies are picking from scraps, and these guys are letting flamethrowers in the ring. So that just goes.
I would say like they were definitely prepared for something like that to happen. I mean, they had like multiple fire extinguishers there, like on hand right there. So I mean, they were definitely prepared for a fire in that case. So I will, applaud them on that. So it was a good job being ready for anything, but it shouldn't have had to come. It shouldn't have had to come to that. And I know they've also had, non-weapon incidents in the past with CM Punk, fighting people backstage. So I mean, really need to get it together there. But at least they don't have a Braun Breaker running around breaking people.
Yeah, well, there was an incident last night on Raw where Sheamus went after Ludwig, and they started fighting backstage, and the security did get in between that pretty quickly. So I will give them props for that. That could be a good match. I'm a little worried for Ludwig because I don't know if he can go toe to toe with Sheamus, but I will say at least the security was on top of their game there, and they got in between those guys pretty quickly before it got ugly.
Yeah, but I think they're at the point where they realize like after Braun Breaker went out there like destroying everyone, I think they realize like they're fighting for their job at this point. If anything else happens, like it's over for them. So, I mean, at least they did a good job correcting themselves. But they're on. I wouldn't even say they're on strike 3 right now. They're on like strike 8. I don't know how they haven't struck out yet, but they realize like we got to get it together right now or it's over.
Yeah, I think it all falls back on Adam Pearce. Honestly, he's been, if he's the leader of the WWE and obviously controlling these security guys, he's got to really put his foot down. The fact that they let Braun Breaker into the stadium last night after he's supposed to be, on timeout, that shows poor leadership from him, honestly, because. He's got to make it very clear to all of his employees, hey, this guy, like, this is the one guy we cannot let into the arena. And of course it happens. So we need more from Adam Pearce, and it starts with him.
Yeah. How do you think Adam Pearce is running Raw compared to how Nick Aldis is running SmackDown? Because I feel like there's a lot less incidents like this on SmackDown.
Yeah. As far as I've seen, I feel like all of the major incidents have been on Raw recently, and part of that could be, just the rosters. As we mentioned, Braun Breaker is out of control, and the whole Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley thing. We knew that they had beef, so of course we should have been watching out for that, for something to happen. So I think Adam's got to be on higher alert because of the wrestlers he has in his company.
Yeah. I feel like Adam Pearce, he was trying to blame his bad leadership on Chelsea Green. And now that Chelsea Green is gone, people are starting to realize, oh, maybe it was Adam Pearce who's the problem, because things are just as bad, if not worse, on Raw. And meanwhile, Chelsea Green's over on SmackDown putting on great matches. So I think people are starting to realize the hypocrisy. He's still over there drinking on the job, on camera now too. So he's got to get it together. Adam Pearce he reminds me of Drew McIntyre. He just tries to blame his own problems on other people. Like, oh, that's not my problem. I'm so bad at this because that guy makes me bad. Like, that's not how you should go around talking to people. And that's just it's a loser's mindset.
Yeah. And when you're running a company and people start to see cracks, they're gonna walk all over you. And now he's, as you said, he's drinking on the job, makes it even, and he's being public about it too. So now everyone knows, Braun Breaker can run around, do whatever he wants. And all Adam's going to do is have a couple drinks backstage. So if I'm a wrestler right now, I'm, a little bit worried about even just walking around on the job. You never know who's going to come out and attack you. So it's just not a good look. And I think Triple H at some point needs to step in and, shape things up, because he's the real mastermind behind all of this. And I don't think Adam Pearce can blame Triple H, but at a certain point, Triple H has to see what's going on and step in before it gets even worse.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's almost like now that The Rock is gone, because The Rock is like the final boss. He's like, The Rock is a board member. He's Triple H's boss. The guy who was Triple H's boss, Vince McMahon, he's gone now too. So I feel like Triple H has kind of, sat back, relaxed. Like, I don't have anybody telling me what to do. I don't really have to do much at this point. I can just sit back and let everything happen. But you saw a couple months ago when The Rock showed up, then he started getting involved more. Now that The Rock is gone, now that Vince McMahon is gone, he's back to just sitting backstage doing his thing. I don't even know if he is backstage, but I don't know. We haven't really seen much leadership from him.
No. And another thing is that one guy who does come up with a lot of great ideas week after week is R-Truth. And I think they're still making a mistake by just laughing it off and not taking this dude seriously. And we predicted it last night, a prediction from Chokeslam Radio that R-Truth might be one of the ones that fights Cody for the WWE Championship coming up. And R-Truth liked that. He reposted our tweet. And so I think that actually is a real possibility if they start to take him seriously, because as we've talked about weeks before, he's a legend, and I think Cody wants to fight him. Cody's made comments on podcasts recently saying that R-Truth is one of the guys who he could never beat when he was in the WWE, and now's his chance. So I think that has a lot of potential, and it's a match that we obviously want to see.
Yeah, Cody was in an interview saying that in the Royal Rumble in January, when R-Truth was in the middle of the ring doing all his moves and stuff, Cody really wanted to just go attack him and beat him up as much as possible, but he didn't do it because he was trying to win the fans' respect at that point, because he wanted to face Roman. He didn't want, and it honestly ended up ending up good for him because the fans wanted him to face Roman. It actually happened, but so he decided to not attack R-Truth, and it almost makes you think, like, if Cody Rhodes had attacked R-Truth during the Royal Rumble, would he have finish the story, because the fans love R-Truth. If Cody Rhodes attacks R-Truth, then the fans are going to turn on him. Even if he does end up winning the Royal Rumble after that, the fans aren't going to be rooting for him to face Roman. So it's almost like a what if scenario. What if Cody Rhodes attacked R-Truth in the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, I think Cody showed a lot of restraint because as he mentioned, and as you just said, he was really tempted to just go after R-Truth. But I think, Cody was too focused on finishing his story, and he realized he could come back to R-Truth once he won that belt. And I think now's the time for him to do that, because obviously that beef isn't settled, and he definitely still has those feelings towards R-Truth. The stuff he hasn't gotten over from earlier in his career. And I think that might bear well for R-Truth because, as I mentioned, Cody's always been so focused on finishing his story. But now that he has done that, R-Truth is the one guy who's beaten Cody before. And I think Cody might be a little bit in his head about that. And that could come back to cost him.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we don't have R-Truth going on interviews and podcasts talking crap about Cody because R-Truth's not, he's not a crybaby like Cody is going around like on stage. Everything bad that happens to him, he's got to start crying in front of everyone. R-Truth's not like that. He may seem like he's, happy, goofing around all the time, but, R-Truth is a tough SOB that you don't want to mess with. You've seen his history in WWE. You've seen the guys that he's beat in the ring. You can't be in the WWE that long and not be tough. So just because he acts silly doesn't mean that he's going to, give you a beat down. And I think R-Truth knows that Cody is after him because a couple weeks ago he posted a picture of Cody looking at him with a really angry look. So he didn't say it out loud, but it's almost him being like, hey, I know you're pissed off and I'm not even going to say anything about it. So,
yeah, I think those are some of the scariest fighters to fight is those that, are okay with, messing around and having a good time, making jokes outside of the ring. But once they get in the ring, they flip a switch and it's business and it's scary. And R-Truth is sort of mastered that because, people sometimes maybe underestimate him because he's always just having a good time and down for a laugh when he's doing his interviews or hanging out backstage. But then once they get in the ring with him, he gets business done and he gets the W, and he's been doing that for years and he'll continue to do that. And I think that might be a problem for Cody because Cody's got so much hate and anger built up towards R-Truth, and R-Truth is just going to kind of shrug it off, say whatever, and that's just going to make Cody even more upset. And then by the time they get in the ring, Cody's going to be so distracted, and R-Truth is, just there to handle business as he always does.
Yeah. There's one person that I am kind of worried about though, and that's R-Truth's partner, The Miz. It seems like they're kind of not really connected. Like they're not really on the same wavelength, which is so important to be on as a tag team. In their last tag team match, The Miz, we said this before, The Miz was still offbeat saying what's up. And this is like the 10th entrance they've done together since being a tag team. And The Miz can't even say what's up on beat still. It just kind of shows how they're not really on the same page. And then last night they were getting ice cream, and The Miz, they were kind of not on the same page on what flavor ice cream like R-Truth would, represent. And it just kind of shows how they're not, they're not on the same page, and they got to get on the same page if they want to keep these belts.
Yeah, I think, as you said, we've talked about it. The Miz, it doesn't seem like his head is fully in it, like it's the simple things like being on time for the chance, or, knowing that R-Truth is strawberry. I don't know why he said chocolate. That was a weird comment for him to make. but it's just the little things like that, that that'll come to cost you in the ring when you face a serious tag team. So yeah, and as we've said, R-Truth handles business in the ring, so it's frustrating at times to see the Miz isn't pulling his own weight, not doing the most for Awesome Truth.
Yeah, it's almost like R-Truth needs someone like John Cena, because when John Cena helped them out in that one match, they were all on the same page there. They were dominant. And it's not that the Awesome Truth isn't dominant right now, but they could be a lot better. I mean, nobody is like, no offense, but nobody is saying that the Awesome Truth is one of the greatest tag teams of all time. But I feel like they could get there. They just need to get on the same page, or R-Truth's just got to get rid of the Miz, to be honest. Like, if I know John Cena has talked about coming back to the WWE, but I think he would be a way better tag team partner than the Miz.
Yeah, that would be a tag team I would love to see, because it would be cool to see R-Truth form an official tag team with his childhood hero. So I think when John Cena does come back, it'll be intriguing for him to work with R-Truth. And John Cena said he's not done with the WWE, that he's still going to be putting on fights. So I think that's a great opportunity for him.
I'm trying to think what have we not covered yet? I think that's just about everything.
Yeah, I don't know if I can think of anything else. I think we did a pretty good job of
Yeah, I agree. I think we got one of our viewers brings up a great point. I almost forgot about this because it was a pre-show match. For some reason they didn't cover it on the actual card. I don't know why they had to make it a pre-show match, but
I'm glad our viewers are watching pre-show matches, because that's impressive, and we need viewers who are that committed to the game. So thank you, viewer.
Yeah, thank you, viewer. But the pre-show match was surprisingly well. I mean, it wasn't a very good matchup, because Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill are really dominant. Like, I don't really see I think people would argue that they're the two best female wrestlers right now. So the fact that they're together as a tag team is pretty unfair. Like, I have no idea who could actually beat them. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, this match, it was entertaining just to see them dominate Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. They did this crazy move to finish the match where they just destroyed Candice LeRae. I don't even know how to explain it. It was they power slammed her or something, and then flipped her backwards, and pretty much just I thought she was dead. But I had never seen anything like that before, and I don't think we're going to be seeing Candice LeRae for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that I don't know how they who's going to stop that tag team at this point, because I did see that move on a clip on my Instagram, and I was like, holy cow, that could finish a guy like Ilya Dragunov easily. So the fact that these two poor girls were put up against Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair was a little bit rude, if I'm being honest, by the WWE. But it's exciting to see who they'll fight next and what'll come of that duo, because they're
at this point, I think they need to go up against the male wrestlers, because what female wrestlers are gonna seriously, I can't think of a pair of two female wrestlers who would even have a chance against them.
No, Damage Control, that'll be a joke. And that's maybe
if Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax teamed up, then maybe, but that would they wouldn't be on the same page. It would take them a long time to become friends. And I don't think either of them really care about the tag belts anyway. They want to go for the championship belts. So
Yeah.
I think at this point, maybe put him up against like Ilya Dragunov and, one of the other minor league male wrestlers. And I think honestly that would be like a pretty fair fight.
Yeah.
Because I was like, Ilya Dragunov is probably like the same size as them, right?
Yeah.
And I would say, I don't know.
I think the only thing that could screw them up would be to hire Chad Gable as a coach. I think that's the only possible way that those two aren't winning every single match that they're put in.
They wouldn't let that coaching slide.
Yeah.
I don't think Chad Gable would last 5 seconds as their coach.
Yeah. Maybe we need the Creed brothers versus Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. Because I do think Chad Gable might be in line for coaching them next if Alpha Academy falls apart. So that could be a good and I think pretty fair match. Chad Gable as the coach of Creed Brothers versus Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. That's a match I would like to see. Yeah,
I would like to see that match too. I mean, I think the Creed Brothers would win, but I mean, they are at the advantage, I'm not trying to say that like men are better fighters, but typically in a situation like that, I don't know how many. I know Randy Orton fought Alexa Bliss a couple years ago, but I don't know what the most recent male versus female match was. I know R-Truth showed up in the Women's Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Santino was in a few women's matches, but I do think that if Chad Gable starts to coach the Creed brothers and doesn't let them do the Brutus Ball or anything like that, the Creed brothers might have to move down to the women's division and fight something like that. So we'll just see. We'll see what happens with that. It's just,
or maybe they need a match with that referee that ref the Gunther versus Randy Orton match, and then they could just count him out on something that's like not even a pin.
No. Yeah. I don't know how that dude is going to be allowed to officiate matches when you screw up the championship for the King of the Ring. That's it's embarrassing.
A lot of people are comparing him to that MLB umpire who just retired, Angel Hernandez. Yeah. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are saying that he's the Angel Hernandez of WWE.
Yeah, that's not a reputation that you want to carry around. So I do hope he gets another chance. Maybe he'll officiate some Ilya Dragunov matches in the future. The matches that don't really matter as much.
Yeah, maybe get Ilya a win or two for once.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I know once you screw up once as a ref, your count's going to be a lot quicker because you're a little bit nervous. So that might be good for Ilya because I know he struggles keeping people down for the 3 count. So
yeah. Well, anyways, I think that covers everything I need to talk about. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, that's all from me.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe to Chokeslam Radio wherever you're watching right now. And we are actually now a podcast on you can listen to the replays of our show on Spotify, Amazon Music, Android, Pandora, iHeartRadio, GeoSavin, Podchaser, and you can also go to sro2.org to subscribe on any other podcast app that you want. And we're working on getting on Apple as well. And right now it's just one episode. It's just our WrestleMania review, but we're working on finishing editing all our other episodes, and soon you'll be getting weekly episodes. But for now, make sure to subscribe so you're ready for when that happens. And make sure to give a 5-star review so we can, grow our audience, and share with everyone who's a WWE fan, and maybe someone who's even not a WWE fan who you think would be interested in the show, because I know I would listen to this show even if I didn't watch WWE.
Yeah, we cover far more than just what goes on in the ring. Of course, that's our main focus, but there's a lot that goes on in the ring that affects elections, so on and so forth. So
yeah,
if you're interested in America, in living a healthy life, electrolytes, anything like that, you gotta share our podcast. Send it to your favorite WWE fighter and your least favorite WWE fighter.
Yeah, like you can watch Breaking Bad even if you're not a drug dealer. You can watch Finding Nemo if you're not, a fish scientist. So yeah, so I think even if you don't watch WWE, the only thing is if you're an AEW fan, you're not allowed to listen to our show. That's the only people who aren't allowed.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, thank you for watching. And remember to chokeslam the like button. And, yeah, be sure to stay and watch the outro.
Thank you for joining us on this bone-chilling journey through the world of WWE. Join us next time on your favorite podcast app, or live Tuesday nights on YouTube, Instagram, and X. As the final bell tolls, remember to stay tuned for more spine-tingling tales from the crypt. Chokeslam that button and subscribe. Check out srotu.org and TRW15 on YouTube, or else. Until next time, may the power of the dead man be with you. Rest in